Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No matter when you may be catching this particular broadcast, I'll be to hear your voice manager. I unmute the voice of women who are ready to speak up about what has kept her silent for way too long. Host of the hashtag Speak Easy podcast. Yeah, that part. Super excited. You guys know we've been doing the morning press here at the 8 o'clock hour on Facebook, and then replays have been going over on YouTube. We just finished up the Women's Path to Freedom, and it was interesting because I said to God, I don't know where exactly you want me to go with this next. I don't know what you want me to do with it next. Um, Let me know, God. Let me know. And so this morning, He dropped something in my heart, and it was after an opportunity was awarded to me, was gifted to me. And I said, okay, wow, that's awesome. And then I went, wait, am I able to do that? I don't know if I'm able to do that. And immediately I went and I started trying to figure it out in my head. And a lot of women, um, literally, we have the hardest time accepting opportunities because we think we have to now plan it all out. Like we have to have everything in our head. Good morning, Deborah. Good morning, Queen. Um, I hope you are able to hear me okay. I didn't even check the audio this morning. Y'all know how it be some old janky naked. Super excited. Okay. You guys can hear me okay. Good. So it was interesting because the opportunity arose, and I said, okay, well, immediately I started in my mind trying to figure out how I could do it. That part. Thank you, Deborah. That part. I started immediately trying to figure out how I could do it, what I needed to do, how I could maneuver things. And the piece that really stood out was take your hands off of it. And I'm like, but God, I need to do this, and I already have this going on and that. And God said, take your hands off of it. We try to do it in our own strength. We try to do it with our own understanding. And in doing so, we take back power from God. We no longer trust in what God is doing because now we're going back and trying to trust in ourselves. And it was interesting that he gave this scripture, 1 Corinthians 6:12. You say, I am allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. And even though I am allowed to do anything, I must not become a slave to anything. Y'all better catch that. I hope you caught that. I must not become a slave to anything. And so one of the things that I found was that if we go and we're putting things and trying to do it in our own strength, we're trying to put our hands back on it, we're trying to carry the load or thinking that we have to help God carry the load, then we've given power to that thing and we've become a slave to that thing. Come on, come on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And so I was like, okay, God, I feel like this next season, or this next series that he has us doing, I feel like um, it's the kind of like hand smack, like you get your life together type series, because I know that he's told us that we could have some amazing things for 2021. He's told us, you know, that we can achieve some great things, we can go places. And up until now, it may not have seemed that way for you. Up until now, you may have had the opposite happen. But how much of that were you trying to do in your own strength? How much of that were you trying to carry with your own two hands? And so I I said, okay, Over the weekend, God gave me information. He gave me uh good morning, Michelle. Hey sis. He gave me some updates that I need to do for my business. He gave me an opportunity that opened up that I was like, oh my goodness, okay. I wasn't expecting this, but all right, we'll see how we're going to make this work. And immediately you heard my words. I guess I'll see how I can make this work. When we focus on trying to make it work instead of focusing on what God has asked us to do, we've become a slave to that thing. And too many times, that's why we have so many issues with money. That's why we have so many issues when it comes to relationships, because we've put things in a master position in our life, and there's only one master. There's only one God. But we've given different things, people, opportunities, that space. And I said, God, I won't do that no more. So when I looked at that, it went on. 13 says, you say food was made for the stomach and the stomach for food. This is true, though someday God will do away with both of them. But you can't say that our bodies were made for sexual immorality. They were made for the Lord, and the Lord cares about our bodies. So he's telling us, even when we have things that are made for certain things. Even though he's given us things, he's given us gifts, he's given us talents, and there are ways that they are being used. He said, I don't want you to become a slave to that. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, sis. I don't want you to be a slave to that. And so when we don't learn how to take our hands off of things, for one, we can't get a full picture of what it is we're looking at because we're covering parts of it with our hands. Y'all better come on. We're covering bits and pieces of it with our hands. So we can't even get a full picture of what it is that we're looking at. So we're causing ourselves a disservice in that realm. And then on top of that, we're not trusting in God. And so we're wasting time looking for alternatives. We're looking for, oh, y'all better catch this. You're looking for answers to a question that you shouldn't even have. You're looking for tools to build something that God is just trying to gift to you. And again, we go through these processes where we don't feel like we're good enough. We don't feel like we're in the right position. We don't feel like we have enough finances to be able to say that. We don't feel like we've arrived in order for us to be able to be in that room. And we're looking for the tools to build something that God said, I don't want you to build. I'm going to gift it to you, but you got to take your hands off of it. And so I said, okay, it's tough when you got to get back to that point of taking your hands off of stuff. But I will not be a slave to anything. And I even look back and I think about, God, I'm glad you did not give me certain things in previous seasons when I prayed for it, because I would have been a slave to it. I would have been a slave to it. And when you are a slave to something, you do things that go against your core values to keep that happy, to fulfill that desire, that craving. And so, man, I was just like, that is That's an interesting mindset to have, but how do we take our hands off of it? Like it's easy to say, okay, leave it at God's hands, put it at the feet of the Father, leave it in the throne room. It's we have so many sayings, guys, y'all. It's wow. It's easy to say those things, but to do it is something completely different. And so to do it means I have to go and actually physically put it in his hands and walk away. Because oftentimes when we are focused on that thing, it's taking away from something else God has asked us to do. So, first and foremost, you have to make sure, and I need y'all to write this down. Ask yourself, what has God asked you to do in this season? So I know for me, God is having me do some things on the back end of my business to prepare for this next season and that he's, putting me in. I know he's opening up conversations and opportunities to prepare me for what's coming. Okay. So I got to go and do what God has asked me to do. I can't waste my time on things that he hasn't told me to touch. And I even think about it like this. God is, even when we think about him being the potter, there are things that he has to do. He has to have special equipment to be able to do it. And so while we're focusing on trying to get the equipment, he already has it. So instead of us just letting him have it and doing what it is that he has asked us to do, we keep trying to take it back and then we waste time trying to find the equipment so we can do what he's already doing. First and foremost, what does God ask you to do in this season? Second thing, have you prayed? And I get it. It's there's always going to be a moment. There is. There's always going to be a moment where fear leads us to believing that we have to handle it all on our own. I get that. As somebody that's again, I've had to deal with homelessness, I've had to deal with domestic violence, I've had to deal with numerous things. And the immediate thought for so long was attached to the feeling of I won't allow anybody else to back me in a corner. And for some of you, that's the reason why it's so hard for you to take your hands off of something that God is doing in your life because you don't ever want to feel that feeling again of being backed in the corner because of somebody else's decision, because of somebody else's inability um, to to do what it is they said they would do. And we compare what God says He will do to what somebody here on earth did not do. And so the first thing is get clear instructions. What did God tell you to do? The second thing is to be in communication with Him, and that's in prayer. Clear instructions. If you don't understand it, say, God, I don't understand. I don't know what you're doing, God. I don't know. I don't know how you got this set up. I don't know where we supposed to be going with this. I, say to him, have that honesty moment. Huh, exactly, exactly. Maria said it. It's that feeling of being backed into a corner. So I want to have my hands on everything because I don't want to be backed into a corner. I don't want to. It's so hard to give something over, and even in your business, it's so hard for you to go and delegate because I don't want to be backed into a corner. I don't want to have to apologize for somebody else. Ooh, that part. As somebody, okay, so I won't tell y'all business, I just tell mine. As somebody who has worked in retail for 15 plus years, I worked in retail and retail management. You're always responsible for someone else's actions. They tell you that you're not, but if your team um, doesn't live up to the expectations for sales, conversion, um, for all of those things, they have different little. They had different little things. You got to get a certain number of people signed up. You got to get it. If it's not, they may say, "Oh, it's a team effort," but the reality is it's not. Even though, I mean, it is a team effort, but if it doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, the team doesn't get in trouble. Come on. Come on. Look, if that's right, it falls in our lap. If we as a store don't make the money that we're supposed to make, they it's very rare that they will go and replace the whole staff of the store. They'll replace the manager first. But God is saying, I didn't call you to be the manager. I need y'all to understand something. God is saying, I did not call you to be a manager. I called you to be the COO. That's a different title. That's a different level of responsibility. The manager is hands on, the COO is not. Most of you have worked for a company and never met the COO of the company in person. Exactly. Deborah said it. You're the one in the office. You're the one in the office. You're the one dealing with that piece. And so I think it froze up on me. Uh-oh. Oh, see. Okay. So it froze up on my end. It did not freeze up on y'all end, but no worries. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going because the enemy can do whatever he trying to, but we have dominion. So he can go somewhere else with all of that. Um, but because that is what we've dealt with in the natural, we think that that's how we have to interact with God spiritually. And God is saying, no. God is saying, no, that's not how you have to act when I am in charge of what it is you've placed in my hands. You don't have to act like a manager. You have to act like a CEO. A CEO is better at communication than a manager because a CEO, that's all they do is communicate. They're not going into a store and putting their hands on anything. They're not going into they're not doing whatever. No, that the lower level are the ones who are fixing displays and changing over signage and doing all of these things. And again, if something is not done properly on the lower level, while it may get to the higher level at some point and they'll understand on a bigger scale, you're not going to meet them. They're not going to be in the store with you. Deborah said, time to change positions. And so I had to have that understanding that God didn't call me to be the manager of the things that I've asked for. He didn't call me to be the manager of the things that he's trying to give to me. it's it's a hard truth when we understand that sometimes the things that God has blessed us with that did not last, the reason it didn't last was because we put our hands on it. And I always used to think about it when I was a little girl. I remember I was somewhere and a mother, and we saw a bird that had fallen out of the nest. And the bird was on the ground. And in my head, if the bird is on the ground, mommy, why don't we just pick up the bird and put it in the nest? Y'all better catch this. Why don't we just pick up the bird and put it in the nest? And she said, no, we can't. And I'm like, but mom, we're right here. We can just pick it up. And I mean, the nest wasn't that high up. We can put it in the nest. She said, no, because if we attempted to pick it up, our scent would be on the bird, and that would be dangerous for the bird, for the baby bird. And man, that took me out because I was like, but so we just going to let it sit there? We just going to. So we never, this is the thing, we never know huh, what poison we are putting on our gifts, our talents, our dreams, our goals, because we keep putting our hands on it. And part of that is because we want to be able to say, we made it. We want to be able to say, I did this. We want to be able to say, I accomplished this. And God is saying, no, I want you to be able to say, it was God. It feels good in the natural to be able to say, I accomplished this. But God is trying to get us to a point where we can say, God accomplished this. God shifted things for me. God opened doors. God created the conversation. And so when the opportunity opened up for this week is to go to a conference, and the conference is this weekend. And I said, mm, kind of last minute. Immediately, I started thinking about last minute tickets and accommodations and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I don't, okay. Mind you, it was gifted to me, the ticket to the event. So I'm like, all right, God. So this morning, when after I saw the email, I looked up and I just said, God, I want to go. So I don't know how you're going to do it, God. I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know how you're going to set it up, but I want to go. And that's one of the hardest things for us to do because we want to put our hands on it. I think I have to save it. I think I have to maneuver things around. Here's the danger in that. The danger in that is that is when the enemy comes with things that are going to go against our values because he knows that we're desperately trying to get it done. He knows that we're desperately trying to get it done. And so because we're desperate, whew, because we're desperate, we'll go against our core values. And so I said, I'm not in this season. I will not move in desperation. I will not move in lack. I will not move in as a slave to anything. I will not be a slave to my body. I will not be a slave to my mind. I will not be a slave to the world views. I will not be a slave to anything. And in order for me to do that, I got to take my hands off sometimes. I got to give it back to God sometimes. And so, what did God ask you to do? Your time in prayer. And then the third thing is you have to go and you actually have to confess to God what it is you have been a slave to. And that was the hard part because certain things, it's easy for us to become a slave to it. Our bodies, because we think we have, we craving something, so we go after it. All of these different things, it's easy to become enslaved by things, and it's things that we wouldn't even think of. But I said, God, break that bond that I have with that thing or that person. Break that. Literally break it apart so that way I am in a space where I can take my hands off. Whoo! I feel like this is I feel like this is going to be like the hard-headed series. God keep bringing that back and I'm like, man, I feel like this is going to be the hard-headed series because what I'll tell you is that we will get to a point where we truly trust God. We take our hands off of stuff and then we get hard-headed and something else will come up and we're like, okay, well, God is handling all that, so let me take care of this. If God didn't tell you put your hands on it, take your hands off. There are certain parts in your business right now that are not functioning at 100% because you're trying to do it with your own hands. There are certain things going on in relationships and friendships that you have that and they're not living up to the full capacity of what they could be. And it's because you keep trying to maneuver, um we keep trying to mold people and we keep trying to uh, literally go and chisel away things and we keep trying to take the chisel and we keep trying to take the potter's wheel and all of these things we're trying to take it out of God's hands and God just keeps saying take your hands off, take your hands off of it. It's not meant for you to handle, it's not meant for you to do. When we have that time of prayer, we can find out what we've been putting our hands on that God told us to take our hands off of. We can also find those things that God has actually told us to do. Remember, again, what has God told you to do? Time in prayer. What are the things that you have been slave to? Because once you realize what are the things that you have been a slave to, I can go back and I can give that back to God. And for some of you, it's a simple thing. Some of you, you can't fast because you've been a slave to your body. Again, some of you, it's things in your business because you have this uh, air of ownership that being able to say you own something takes precedence over the quality. And so we have to get to a point where it's not just about what we own. Oh, for some of you, after listening to this episode today, you need to go and clear some things out and make space. After this episode today, there are some of you that need to go and realign some things and throw some things out and take some things to Goodwill, because there are some things in your home that have you've become a slave to because of the person that gave it to you, because of the feeling that it gave you. See, I always go back to being a giver. And one of the things that was so important in being a giver was that I'm not giving to gain something. I'm giving because I know it can do something. It can grow. And I've even always prayed, God, every time I sow a seed, let there be a good harvest, even if the harvest isn't meant for me. Even when I think about my books, when I write my books, I take my hands off of it. And I say, God, what is it that you want me to do? And I pray, I say, God, every book that someone purchases for me, I pray that it changes a life, that it opens up a conversation, it shifts the dialogue, God. Every time a person gets a book, no matter what book it is from me, God, that is my prayer, that there will be 100-fold blessings, that if they gift the book, God, that it's coming back to them in abundance. God, why? Because when I do this, I what is it God did ask me? What is it that God asked me to do? I go into prayer, and then I say, what have I been a slave to? I've been a slave to in the past, trying to have the numbers. I've been a slave in the past to trying to get Amazon best-selling and all of those things. And mind you, they're not bad. It's not a bad thing, but there are some people that idolize the Amazon bestsellers, um, you know, that whole experience, and they idolize it because it is a high for them. Like some of you, the reason why you've been a slave to certain things is because it's a euphoric feeling that you get because of that thing. And you think that if you give it up, or that if you don't chase after it, then you're not going to feel satisfied by what you're doing. And so taking our hands off of it puts us in a place of, God, the harvest doesn't even have to be for me, but let there be a harvest. The change, the shift does not have to be for me, but God, let there be a shift. I already know God's got me. God's going to bless me. I already know that's going to happen. But I legit said, God, I'm not going to be a slave to the numbers. There's no need to be. So I know that today I got a ton of work to get done, you guys. I'm super excited. Again, it's this morning press. Let's go. Let's go. Uh, you may have to listen to this episode a few times for it to kind of resonate and get in your shanana. But it's important for you to understand that so much more can be done when you take your hands off of it. You can let God lead when you take your hands off. And when He leads, you now open up opportunities that you've never even thought about. Good morning, Eureka. I am just finishing up, sis. You're opening up opportunities that you've never even thought about, but you have to be willing to take your hands off. And we did 1 Corinthians 6:12. And when I take my hands off of it, I am no longer a slave to it. I'm no longer a slave to it. When I take my hands off the finances, I'm no longer a slave to it. Y'all, even better things are coming. You are in position for some amazing opportunities. Some amazing shifts are coming in your life, and you got to be willing to take your hands off of it so that way God can be in control. So I'll read the scripture one more time and then I'll get ready to go for today. You say, I am allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. And even though I am allowed to do anything, I must not become a slave to anything. This morning, our confession is I am not a slave to anything. This morning, that's our confession. I am not a slave to anything because God is in control of it all. He can give you anything that you need. That part. So I am super excited, guys. You guys have an amazing rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you do some powerful things. Thank you to everyone that's purchased the Woman's Path to Freedom. You guys should have received your books by now. Let me know if you still need to order one. By all means, reach out and I will make sure that that gets out in the mail to you. We can go ahead and get you set up. With that being said, I appreciate y'all. And until next time, don't forget to press it out. See ya.